I began making these type of videos on YouTube, telling stories of my journey, just sharing life experience, my thoughts in general, based on what I've been through in the past year and a half of my life. Now, I'm pretty positive this is the first time I've ever made a video about this topic. And I could be wrong, but I think it's important for me as I treat this channel like a diary, basically, and also in the hopes to help others who need maybe a pick me up that feel the same way about certain situations in their life. So when I planned on creating videos like this, I didn't really have a strategy. I didn't really have a whole plan in mind. I just kind of went for it. So in this video, I kind of wanted to talk about the links between mental health and alcohol use. And I wanted to address how, maybe not address, but speak on how I am, how I overcame the urge to drink alcohol every single day of my life, and how sobriety has largely helped my life at a younger age. Now, I could tell my story and it could go on for hours, but I'll try to make this very short and sweet. I'm 24 years old now, but the last time I had a drink of alcohol, I was 22. And I began drinking way before, the legal age of 21. But I went through a lot of dark trials throughout my teenage years. I was very unstable. I was my own worst enemy in every way you could possibly imagine. There were times where I didn't know what was going on with myself. When I was younger, early teenage years, I began to develop this uncontrollable anxiety that I didn't know was anxiety at the time. I was completely uninformed on anything mental health. So as years went on, 14, 15, 16, it was a steady decline of everything in my life. I went from being a straight A student in elementary school and freshman year of high school to just complete and utter waste of my school years, just F. And I began to hate myself more because of that simple fact that I felt worthless in every area of my life. So after high school was over, that's the time where, you start to go separate ways with your friends, people you really do realize that you're on your own. You're 18, you start getting things to sign in the mail. You're like, oh, this is serious. Yeah, when you're grown, you really get treated like you're grown first day. And that hit me, really hit me. So I remember, I would drink for sure at 18, 19, and it was a drinking where I could tell, I could stop. I always could stop at that time. But when I did drink, I felt that it really was something that I knew in my mind. I need more of that, because it took away this feeling at the time of anxiety and self-doubt. I felt like I was on top of the world. We all know the story of how alcohol makes you feel. And that's was the kind of the beginning of me inside realizing something was wrong. 18, 19, 20, I had moved out for a while with my family. And that's when things took a very dark turn in my life. My grandma died. There was a couple other deaths I experienced, and I was just really in an unstable environment, an unstable place in my head. And I hated everything about myself and the outside world. From the years of 2022 to 2023, which I would have been 21 and then 22, those were some of the worst years of my life I can imagine. Constant drinking every day went on from probably the summer of 2022 until all the way until the end of 2023 in November. I've always been a decently fit looking person, skinny but fit. And by the end of 2023, I had become the most unrecognizable version of myself I've ever seen. And when I look back on pictures sometimes, it still shocks me that that's really me. So it got to a point on November 8th where I said, enough is enough. I can't do this anymore. I was having constant thoughts of, self-harm every single day. The drinking got to a point to where it didn't feel good anymore. At first it was helping the way my mental health felt, but then by the end of it, it amplified everything. My anxiety was through the roof. My depression was unimaginable. I can't explain to you how much I just wanted to take my own life every day. So yeah, I was like, you know what? And this is constant drinking. I'm poisoning myself every single day. I'm gonna cut it today. And I tried to stop cold turkey. Probably the biggest mistake of my life because I was completely uninformed of the consequences of alcohol in general, let alone stopping cold turkey without any detox. When I stopped, I spent 2 days without alcohol because I was gonna try to self detox, and the amount I was drinking, that was just completely not gonna happen. For those next 2 days were the most grueling, brutal, crazy days of my life. I remember having hallucinations. I remember talking to myself, going crazy. My mind was not okay. And there was one night after I stopped, probably 2 nights after I had my last drink, and I had a mental breakdown. I was panicking, pacing, my heart was fluttering. I was trying to go to sleep that night, and every time I fell asleep, it was a dream of just the same dream repeating itself of me falling and just hitting the ground, and I would wake up in a panic each time. I freaked out. You know, I called my parents and I said I got to get help. They didn't know why, and I didn't say because they knew I drank, but they didn't know. Nobody knew besides me how bad the drinking actually was. And when you're drinking, you think you're this macho, and you think you can hide it from everybody, but people know. The way I was drinking liquor and all this other stuff, I'm sweating all the time. You can smell it, and I thought I was fooling everybody. Throw some mouthwash in, and oh yeah, they can't smell it. I wasn't fooling anybody but myself. So I went to a detox facility. And well, actually, let me rewind. Before I went to the detox facility, I went to the ER because I was freaking and nobody knew what was going on with me. And I remember the fear I felt in the ER when everybody seemed concerned about me when I was having panic attacks and whatnot. But I remember the shift in the room when I mentioned it was due to alcohol, from the doctors, the nurses, even saw the doctor go out and get a security guard to just stand outside my room or something. And they began asking me if I had any weapons on me or anything, and it belittled me so much in that moment. I remember physically feeling like I just wanted to not exist anymore. Some lady there, by the grace of God, mentioned this detox facility, which I'm beyond grateful I went there now, because I was going to stay in the actual hospital, the psych ward, and I didn't want to do that. So some lady told me about some place, in the suburban area where I live, and I checked myself in there. I couldn't walk. My dad had to actually help me get in there, because my body was not cooperating with all the drinking and all the punishment I put myself through. So I went in there and I stayed for a week and a half. The first couple of days were grueling. They put me on this pill to detox myself and to get rid of the mental aspect of it. And those were the most grueling first couple of days. I wanted to leave multiple times. They take your phone away. They take your shoelaces away. Obviously, everything. You don't have anything in there. And you just have a bed. You have a roommate. You have a lobby to watch TV. And I got to tell you, taking my phone away, taking just life as I knew it away was probably one of the most important things that I needed. I didn't realize it in the time. All I had to do for that next week and a half was lay and think about my life. Lay and think about the punishment I was putting myself through. Think about the punishment I was putting my loved ones through by seeing me like that. Just think about how much I crippled myself in the midst of my own disaster. By the end of detox, staying there for a week and a half, I was amazed by the turn of my mental health in just that short time of not having alcohol and learning more about myself. Every time I woke up in the morning, they'd wake us up in detox and ask us, they're having a group meeting down there, so learn certain skills, this, that, and the third, and you can participate if you want. If not, then you don't have to. I would get up and I'd force myself to go to every single one, because I realized more and more as I was laying there in there, I realized that this is life or death. You're young, yeah, you're young, but you keep drinking like this and your body's going to shut down. That's all there is to it. So by the end of me getting out of detox, they set me up with a plan to go to a 12-week, 3 days a week outpatient, group that was like 3 hours 3 days a week on the evenings. When I first got there the first day, it was all people that were older than me, all old people, and I hated it. I did not want to be there. Things that never interest me too much or excite me, I always have gave up on before, just because I haven't felt comfortable. So the fact that I was able to stick through that, it amazes me, and I can't take credit for that. It's God. I don't know how I did it. So I ended up going into this outpatient program, hating it. By the end of the 12 weeks, I was crying because I didn't want to leave. I met so many people that I could relate to and that I felt something for. And everybody would tell me, when I was leaving, we don't know what we're going to do without you now, because you're always the one giving everybody advice. And hearing those things, it boosts your confidence to a way you didn't think was imaginable. You're knowledgeable as an individual, but you don't see it, yourself all the time. I don't really know what my purpose of telling this story in this video is, but I feel like it's necessary. To make a long story short, I'll make another video telling the entire story if people would want me to. But anyway, November 8th of this year, I will be 2 years sober from alcohol. And that is kind of mind-blowing for me, because I never thought when I was in the midst of that amount of drinking I was going to be able to stop for a second, a day, an hour, because of how bad I was. So there's such a link between alcohol use and mental health. And that's what I was so uninformed with. I didn't understand that actually was making me worse every day. Over the last year and a half, things that I've done to improve myself and just better myself as a person is, first of all, obviously kicking the alcohol out of my life completely. But then that's just the start. That's just the first part of your recovery as a person. Because when you go to some place for detox or rehab or whatever, and you're trying to get off something, you think at first that it's just to get off something. That's 100% not the case. For me, it was a rewiring of my brain. I had to figure out what was actually causing me to be this way. I was completely messed up. So the past year and a half has been, first of all, growth. Taking the time to do things that I wouldn't do before. I journal now. I'm always participating in something that can help other people, because I know what it feels like to not have that. I put faith in Jesus now, because I've always believed in God. I've always believed in Jesus, but I see him and I feel him every day now in a way I didn't before. And what I urge to people all the time, because there's people that I go to a meeting with or something, and they'll say, they have a hard time accepting God. They have a hard time saying God. And me personally, I can't understand that, because I love God. But I respect and I completely get their point of view, because I'm not them and they're not me. So they see things in a different light, and I respect it. So what I always tell people is, if it's not God, put your faith and trust into a higher power that is not a human being. Something that you see as all perfect. Because for me, all I can tell you is, putting my faith into Jesus every single day now has taken my life to heights that I never thought it would. I still have very bad days sometimes, but I feel a peace, a presence from God that I didn't feel before. And it's every single day I try to remind myself of something. Do at least one thing every single day, hopefully more than one, multiple things, to improve myself, to grow, to show myself, I'm on the right path, to help others. Now I don't miss a chance to help somebody, because I know in my darkest days, all I wanted was help, but I couldn't ask for it because I was too afraid. Getting sober is not an easy journey, no matter what your, drugs, alcohol, whatever. But there's hope. There's hope, so much hope. I'm young. I'm 24 now. I still got so much work to do. And there's temptations at all times. There's things that try to get you. But I tell you one thing is, life is a lot easier now that I understand that I don't have to be that person. That I have a choice. I have a choice to put my trust into the Lord, and trust into God, and trust into something that I don't understand. or somebody that I don't understand fully because they're not human, but they're perfect because I feel their work every single day of my life. Maybe my hope in this video was that it'll find the right person and touch the right person. But I just want you to know, no matter what struggle you're going through today, even if it has nothing to do with alcohol or drugs or mental health or whatever, that struggle is just a small, tiny, microscopic portion of what the rest of your life will entail. There's some things that we spend so much time worrying on that never come to fruition. That's just us. That's human nature. That's how we are. We can't help it. But the hope I want to give you today is that there's always hope in every situation as long as you have faith. And if anybody is struggling with, something that they don't understand, reach out for help. It might feel shameful at first. It might feel belittling. But in the long run, you'll look back and be so grateful that you did what you could just to help yourself. That's just a great strength and great hope in that. So with that being said, thank you for watching this. If you made it to the end, I understand it's a long video. But I just want you to know that I love you, and give yourself a shot today. If you have not, embrace the love that you have for yourself, because it's there, but you got to truly embrace it, because you're just as important as the next guy. Thank you.